Hey you guys, it's Miss Rodriguez or Mrs. Trejo. I am going to go over a few of the questions from the Unit 3C test, and you will need to pass this with at least an 80 in order to move on to the retest so we can bring that grade up. So let's get started. I grabbed the most missed questions from my class, and the first question that I'm going to go over is question number 5. And it says, what is the slope of the line represented by 5x minus 12y equals 24? Well, this is currently in standard form. Remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c. And we need to transform it into slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. Because in this form, then you can get your y-intercept, you can get your slope, and in standard form, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. So remember, there are 2 steps to get there. The first step being you need to add or subtract the ax term. And your second step was you need to divide by b. So if we have 5x minus 12y equals 24. Our first step is to add or subtract the ax term. So I'm going to take this entire term and I'm going to do the opposite operation. Since this is positive, I'm going to subtract it. And what I do to one side of the line, I have to do to the other side. So when I do that, 5x minus 5x, that goes away. There's nothing happening here, so I'm going to draw an arrow to bring it down, so I get negative 12y equals 24 and negative 5x are 2 different types of terms. This one has an x and this one doesn't. So I can't put those 2 things together. So I'm just going to bring everything down. And so I can get it to look more like slope-intercept form, I'm going to switch these 2, and I'm going to put my negative 5x first plus 24. I'm simply just going to flip them to make it look like this. So my first step is done. My second step is to divide by b. And my b value is a number directly in front of the y variable. So here's my y variable, and here's the number directly in front of that. I'm going to take this number and divide by it. And what I do to one side, remember, you always have to do to the other side, to every term. So divide by negative 12, divide by negative 12. When I do that, negative 12s go away, I'm left with y equals negative divided by a negative is positive, and 5 divided by 12, this fraction does not simplify any further. So I'm going to leave it as is, x, and then 24 divided by negative 12 gives me negative 2. Okay, so now that I have it in slope-intercept form, I'm going to go back to the question and see what it was asking. What is the slope of the line represented by this? Well, slope is your m. Y equals mx plus b. So the number directly in front of the x must be my slope. And the number directly in front of my x is right here. So m equals 5 over 12. And that answer would be right here. Okay, moving on. Question number 6 from the test. The graph show the linear relationship between the maximum area in square feet that can be painted and the number of paint used. Which of these best represent the rate of change of the maximum area painted with respect to the number of gallons of paint used? Okay, there is a key word in this question. Which of these best represent the rate of change? The rate of change. And what does rate of change mean? Rate of change is the same thing as slope. So ultimately, all of these fancy words cut through the fluff. All it's asking is, what is the slope of this graph right here? Well, slope is rise over run, or change in y over change in x. So let's grab, okay, we're gonna grab 2 points. We're gonna get 2 points because our our formula for this is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so I'm gonna pick 2 points. Here's 1 and 400, here's 2 and 800. I'm gonna take those 2 points. So my points I'm gonna use on this first one is 1 and 400. And the second point is 2 and 800. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which one's which. I'll say this is we'll make this our x1, y1, and we'll make this one x2, y2. So I'm just gonna plug points in. I need my y2 first, that's 800, minus my y1 value is 400 over x2 is 2 minus x1, so it's 1. Okay, and you could put this in your handy calculator. I don't have mine out, so I'm just going to do it by hand. 800 minus 400 is 400. 2 minus 1 is 1, so that simplifies to 400. And this is maximum area painted with respect to the number of gallons. So it's feet squared per gallon. And which one of these looks like this? It would be right here. Okay, next one. Number 7. Which of the following equations represent a line that is perpendicular to this, y equals negative 5/3 x plus 8/3, and passes through the point 2, 4? Well, first off, I need to figure out my slope. So remember, we want it perpendicular to. So if I have y equals negative 5/3 x plus 8/3, okay, and my slope has to be perpendicular to this. Y equals mx plus b, here's my m value, that's my slope. I want it perpendicular to that, and I have to do 2 things. I have to flip the fraction, and change the sign. So if I have negative 5/3, I need to first flip it. So that becomes negative 3 over 5, done. And then I need to change the sign. So my negative now becomes positive 3/5. So this is my new slope. And it needs to pass through this point. So the formula I'm going to use is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. This is point slope formula because we have a point and we have slope. So if my point is 2, 4, y minus, this is x1, this is y1. So y1 is 4 equals, and my slope is 3/5 x minus, and my x1 is 2. 2. So which one of these equations looks like that? And it is right here. that would have been my answer for number 7. Okay, 2 more problems. Here's number 12. What is the parallel slope to the following 2 points? Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, we're going to call this x1, y1. It's always helpful if you label your points. That way it's easier to find when plugging into your formula. So that's x2, y2. Okay, so slope is equal to this. This is a slope formula. M equals, you can find this on your reference sheet that you're going to end up being able to use and have access to on your STAR test. Okay, so plug in y2. y2 is going to be 14 minus y1 is -4. Notice I have the double negative over x2 is -1 minus x1 is -4. Again, I don't have my calculator out, so I'm going to do this by hand. 14 minus -4. This double negative becomes positive, so really this is 14 plus 4, which is equal to 18. And then same thing here, this double negative becomes positive, so -1 plus 4 is 3, and 18 divided by 3 is 6. And I want the parallel slope, and if it's parallel, that means it's going to be the exact same slope. So it's +6 right there. J would have been my answer. Okay, here's the last question. It says, which graph represents the linear function 3x minus 5y equals 15? This one was a little bit more difficult. It is in standard form and we need to convert into slope-intercept form before we can even begin to graph. So remember, my 2 steps are add or subtract your ax term, and then your second step is to divide by b. Okay, so if we have 3x minus 5y equals 15, I'm going to draw a line. You don't have to, but for some of you this helps. Add, subtract ax. So here's my ax term, opposite operation. This is positive, so I'm going to do negative or subtraction. What I do to one side, I need to do to the other. Okay. So 3x minus 3x, that goes away. I'm going to bring down my -5y equals. Remember, these two do not go together because they are 2 different terms. This has an x, this doesn't. So I'm going to bring it down. Plus 15. Okay, so my first step is done. My second step is to divide by b. So I'm going to take this -5, it's my b value, and divide by it. What I do to one side, I got to do to the other. Okay, so that goes away. I'm left with y equals. Negative divided by negative is positive. 3/5, that's as simplified as that gets. Bring down my x, and 15 divided by -5 gives me -3. So now I have my equation in slope-intercept form, and I'm going to start looking at these graphs, and I can use process of elimination to help me graph this. So if this is in y equals mx plus b, begin with b, it's your y-intercept. We're going to see which of these graphs have a y-intercept at -3. So this one does. This one does not. I'm going to cross it out. This one does, and this one does not. Again, I'm going to cross it out. Okay, so I'm down to a and b, and now I need to look at my slope. My slope is +3/5, which means I need to go up 3 and to the right 5. So if I start here, go up 3 and to the right 5, oh no, that's not what this graph does. But if I look at B, that is what this graph does. So another way I could have figured this out before even counting is I have a positive slope. Looking at A, this is a negative slope. It goes down. So I know that would not have been correct. So B would have been my answer.